G'day. Hey, we're back. Back to do part 2 of painting this wave. So I finished it and it came out all right, and we'll go ahead and play that. Probably way too long, but you know, you feel free to fast forward it, watch the parts you want to see, but I will play it all. I won't skip anything out. You know how I don't really like skipping bits out. Anyway, so that's happening. Also, a little bit exciting is I've just started this one. There's a mountain from down Queenstown in New Zealand, and I just blocked that in today, believe it or not. So more simple than it looks. And this one is going to be the next video, and that's going to be about palette knife snow. Anyway, that'll be a good couple of weeks away. For now, we're going to do this one. So let's go ahead. I'll talk my way through it, and thanks for joining me. Right, so here we go, guys. Hopefully you watched part 1. Well, you know, if you did, hopefully you enjoyed it. And there is part 1 for those people who don't know. You've just tuned in, you can go back, you can find that. And to be honest, before that, I'd done a previous wave. A couple of long videos there too, a couple of long time lapses, narrated time lapses. And that one's, I think they're almost designed to go hand in hand. Which is, you watch the first one, then you come back and watch this one. The first one's just a wave up really close, and then this one's more like an entire ocean looking over there, more of a vista of the sea. So, but together they probably make sense. And anyway, what am I doing? That's the most important thing, is I'm actually coming back, I'm reinstating some darks and lights into that. Probably everywhere. I work the whole canvas. Yeah, there we go. I work the whole canvas at once, really. I don't stay in one place too long. I work over the whole thing, especially when I'm starting to bring lights in there. If I spend too long on one place, it doesn't really work for me. If I'm starting to lighten up, because I hold back on my lights. So I bring my lightest lights in as the painting progresses, and I probably won't even be anywhere near the lightest lights yet, because we've still got about half an hour to go. So, and that's bearing in mind that's also sped up, so I won't be my lightest lights. I'm just gesturally, like when I put that foam in, that floating foam suds there, it's just a very gestural sort of movement with my whole arm, and quite a bit of artist license going in. I'm not copying, I'm not being a slave to my reference photo there. I'm doing it in the rear, in the background there too, doing the same thing. And now just changing those lights and darks, well, just moving around. So there's a lot of license, well, there's a lot of opportunity with this wet over dry technique. So that's the other thing, is that I'm sure you're aware, this is the third layer on this painting. So bearing in mind there's 2 previous layers that have already gone on, and they are bone dry, so I can paint over them, and you know that painting underneath is completely dry, which makes it a lot easier to control. This next layer coming over top, unfortunately you've just got to go through the process. Even me, I wish I could speed it up, and I paint a lot faster than I used to. But you know, you just got to go through the process, and once you get to here, you can start to make some quite nice changes to your painting. And start to get that realism. The foam really helps with creating movement in your water. So all the time you remember that foam is flowing with the current. So it's sweeping up into the barrel of that wave there in the front. That's even if you're not copying your reference photo, you're going to know that's going to happen. You know, you just a few trips to the beach and observe that foam getting swept up into the barrel of the wave, or in the background there, just sort of floating, and it's quite, your strokes are quite horizontal when it's just floating foam there. Even in that foreground, see, it's quite horizontal. Here's something, what I find, because I have classes here, people come into my studio and do painting, and what I find is people overemphasize that wave shape. You know, the wave shape, if you got a school kid, a young school kid, to draw a wave, they'd make that familiar wave shape, people overemphasize that. It's generally more horizontal than you'd think. It's a little paint what you see, not what you think you see. Which comes back to having a really good reference photo. Try and get yourself a really good reference photo and observe the photo. Or if you're down at the beach, observe the water as well. It all helps. It all helps in your painting process. But anyway, that's probably something I do see. I do see people overemphasizing that the vertical shapes in their water. Yeah, so now just coming back with that foam here and there. And those colours, hopefully you've watched part one. In part one I talk quite a lot about colour and the colour mixing, and we know that that's sort of that light mauvey pink colour. Most of that foam is. It's not white by any means, it's kind of a mauvey pink colour in this painting, which sort of works interestingly with all those greens of the water. And that's how the water is down here in New Zealand. I can assure you it's quite an accurate portrayal, representation of the colour of our water. And it's in winter, so it's quite cold. So hopefully it looks like it's cold. Some people have said it looks cold, so that'll be, I don't know how you paint cold water. But anyway, a couple of people say it does look cold, so, you know, I don't know what the difference between, I think tropical water is just generally perceived to be warmer. So if you do your light blues, aquas, it'll probably look warmer. That's psychological, I'm sure. But anyway, we're painting cold water. Right, so yeah, I'll let this play. Well, I won't talk forever. Now that, so exciting, that mountain that I've just been doing today, I've been blocking that in. I won't talk too much about that because I'll steal my thunder for the actual video. But yeah, that's good fun. If you've got any ideas, and if you are enjoying the videos, remember to subscribe to my fledgling YouTube channel. But hey, I think I'm probably going to cross over 1,000 subscribers soon. So presumably this video is going to be around for a while. So at the time of me doing this voiceover right now, I'm nearly at 1,000. So thanks for that. Thanks for anyone who's supporting me. I appreciate that. Makes it all worthwhile, even though I do enjoy doing it. And looking forward to bringing you the mountain long time-lapse, narrated time-lapse in a couple of weeks. I like painting that painting, and it's not too hard. It's not too hard a painting to paint, but I will be honest, I'd say it's probably more of an intermediate level painting than a beginner's, but a lot of fun, and a lot of fun just seeing how that palette knife snow develops and how that comes together. After that one, I am going to do a very simple wave. Simple, it's been proven in my studio by the people that come here and do the beginners oil painting classes with me, and it's a really easy wave to do. So I'm going to bring you that one, and it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool, so get excited about that one. That'll be worth it if you're a beginner, because this one here, like I say, this wave here is a little bit tricky. The previous video was an easier wave. There you go. But I'll let this play for a while. I'll probably talk too much, and I'll come back in a minute. Anyway, enjoy the video. Okay, I'm back again, because about now I start doing something there that's quite interesting. Start creating that glassy look on that wave. Now this is interesting because it's a really easy way to bring up your realism in your water. It's such a simple little technique. So the paint that I'm putting on there is not very thick at all. If I was putting that paint on a blank canvas, I would not be getting good coverage whatsoever. It's not enough paint to make a thick, solid brush stroke. It's not a solid brush stroke at all. It's just a little bit of paint, and I sort of, the term is scumble, so it's a dry brush technique. It's in between, it's somewhere between a blooming dry brush technique and a glaze really. But anyway, it's just a little bit of paint. How you get it on there, I'm generally using, I'm using synthetic flat brushes for almost all of this painting. The whole thing is synthetic flat brushes. But as you see, that little bit of light water going on there really does help add to the realism of this painting. And now I'm putting a little bit of foam in there. I can tell you, a heads up, that little bit of foam that I just put in there does not last till the end of the painting. That gets deleted out at some stage, painted over. But anyway, that's how it goes. You give it a go, and that's the beauty of oil paint too. You can also come back and you can get rid of that if you don't think it's ideal. It wasn't the reference photo, but I felt it just like took the eye. Yeah, it was better off without it, I think. Yeah, there we go. It's gone. Easy as that. So I'm just wiping that off. I've got a little bit of pure liquid on my soft rag. So my rags are made out of old t-shirts. And dip them in a little bit of liquid, and you can just wipe that off, and it doesn't really, it won't affect your lower layer of paint, your underneath layers of paint, as long as they are dry. Of course they are. Now there's that foam coming up here. You can see how gestural that is. That's not really, I've got the photo there. I'm using the photo as a reference, but yeah, my hand's moving and I'm not even, I've got my eyes closed, or only one eye closed. My hand will be moving, I'm not even looking at the canvas sometimes. So it's probably one of the harder things to paint. It looks easy, but it's actually probably one of the harder things I paint, or to teach people, is how I paint foam. Now, not to say that there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's definitely more than one way to paint this foam. And a lot of people do it quite illustrated, where it looks like it's very deliberately painted and quite carefully painted, and I presume they'd be following a reference photo, and that actually also looks really good. Whether it looks better or worse, I don't know. I think it just does look really good, but that doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. I prefer this sort of loose, gestural sort of movement, and I create my foam like that. But yeah, so look into that. If you're struggling with it, there's other ways. Lots of people on Instagram painting awesome foam, awesome water. There in the background, those same movements. And using that brush quite flat. So I'm almost dragging along its side sometimes to make those rough edges. Whether that makes sense or not. Holding the brush quite flat to the canvas, and it drags the edge of the brush where there is no paint along, and just makes really rough, interrupted edges. Just something I've developed. Obviously I'm self-taught, so all of this stuff just I learned and developed over time, and I'm still learning all the time. Particularly when you analyse yourself like I'm doing now, when I watch myself back. It's hard to do. Nobody wants to watch themselves back, but anyway, if you do, and you analyse yourself, you pick up little things and you try different things next time. Always learning. So where I was going with that before, when I started talking about the mountain, I got sidetracked, was if there's something that you want to see me paint, because I've done a few still lifes, I probably won't get too much into portrait videos because I've done 3 portraits in my life. They didn't come out bad, but I'm by no means a authority of knowledge on portrait painting. But I can apply the same technique, which I'll be using next time to do the mountains, which I teach here in my studio. The same technique to do like a little still life. So yeah, I think I'm going to bring you a still life shortly. Maybe a bird, like a little sparrow, or maybe even something more exciting, like some form of food. We'll see how it all goes. Anyway, I'll let this play, and you'll see me just doing more and more foam. But I'm saying that the painting is starting to come together now. Right guys, getting towards the end here, only a few minutes to go, and you know, you've seen me just working on that foam relentlessly, just going subtly building it up, and presumably that is finished now. When I look at it, I'm looking at it right now in the studio, but not ruling out I may come back at some stage and do a little bit more just to finish off the front, but it will only be using, you can be assured I'm using the same technique that I am there. It's just it does drive you nuts after quite a few hours painting it. So you sometimes put it away for a few weeks and come back to it. But anyway, in summary now, because we're about to finish this video up, the colours I used, if you go back to the start, but it was titanium white, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium orange, Pyrrole Rubine, or alizarin, you could use alizarin red, Pthalo blue, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. That's my palette, it doesn't change. How much of the red I used in this painting, I don't think I used hardly any. And obviously a little bit of lead white going in there, and I've spoken about lead white before. You could probably use zinc white to replace the lead white, but you know, that's a whole other topic. So here we are, and the brushes, they were like almost solely synthetic flat brushes, sized from, oh geez, I said at the start, I don't even know how it works, but sized from size 6 through to size 16. And I used that sable rigger just a tiny wee bit on that water splash. I did use some big flat bristle brushes initially getting paint on, and maybe even scrubbing in some of those glazes. I've used a bristle brush once or twice, but generally you can paint this whole thing with synthetic flat brushes, which are probably one of the cheaper brushes on the market, and these aren't flash by any means. These are just your run-of-the-mill brushes. They wear out quite fast. I like a crisp edge, so they don't last forever. Even the more expensive ones don't last long, so it doesn't, you know, anyway, I can't see the point in spending huge amounts of money on this type of brush. And if I haven't said it before, and like I just said, it does drive you nuts after a while, just continually going back into these lights and darks. And how am I doing that? How do I know when I'm finished? Like I said in the previous video, the previous wave video, I'm referring to my reference photo. You see me looking up there all the time. But B, I always start taking photos with it's just my phone. So I take a photo of the painting with my phone, and then I have the reference photo on there also, and I flip from one to the other, from the painting, the photo of the painting, to the reference photo. I flip back and forth, and I start deciding what is in the reference that I still want to bring into my photo. There'll be things I don't want to bring in, things I leave out, and you get the picture. But it's just seeing it through it's almost like seeing it through a fresh set of eyes when I see it on a screen. Another way is to use a mirror. So hopefully you've come across this. If you haven't, you can hold, have a makeup mirror, and just hold that makeup mirror so you can see the reflection of your painting in the mirror. And that's another way to identify things that aren't quite right, but eyes just get a bit stale, and I think you start to not see things as well after you stare at it for so long. So the mirror helps, taking a little photo of it, and looking at the actual photo on a screen also helps. And just doing those comparisons towards the end. Then you get to the stage, you go like, that's it. That's as far as I want to go. Always remembering those little light bits. How do you make things light and translucent? It's by putting some dark beside them. If you want to make something brighter, and people do this, people want to make it brighter, they try and make it whiter. They can't make any whiter, still doesn't look bright enough. Why doesn't it look bright enough? Because you need something dark beside it. That water, this painting in the flesh, looks quite translucent. It looks like you can see into that water. Well, I think so. Looks like you can see into that water, and it's those darks beside the lights that's giving that illusion that it's translucent. And the colour, getting good colour. So coming by with my lightest lights now, guys, and in this case, today the lightest lights will just be titanium white. So I'm using lead white or titanium white, but titanium white's just opaque and thick white. If the sky was warmer, obviously it's not that warm a day, it's not. If the sky was warmer, like more leaning towards yellow or orange, my lightest lights would actually be tinted to what the sky is. Orange, yellow, etc. And that would appear to be the lightest lights in my painting. But today it's just pure white. Still working everywhere, all around the painting. But thank you for watching. Once again, remember to subscribe if you're enjoying it, if you haven't already. Appreciate your support and look forward to bringing this mountain to you in a couple of weeks. There we go. Have a good day.